James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, 2016 has been one of those years that many people, I think, are actually pretty happy to see the back end of. We've seen the sad demise of David Bowie, Prince, Leonard Cohen, British common sense, American democracy, the media, and the truth itself. The last flickering hopes of young New Zealanders that they'll ever own their own homes have also been extinguished this year, along with National's re-election chances. So it's not all that bad. But Mr Speaker, during the bleaker moments this year, I have found myself returning to one of those famous quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And it's a hopeful message to end a long and strange year. It's comforting to think that things are going to change, that they're going to get better. And it's nice to think that the universe bends towards justice. But if you read Dr. King's speech, it actually gets a little less optimistic. He talks about evil shaping events. He talks about the truth being crushed to earth. The speech is 50 years old, but actually it is just as true today. And Mr Speaker, yesterday there were two reports about life in New Zealand in 2016, one of which was the Child Poverty Monitor. And I think that it's worth mentioning today. It revealed that between 80 and 90,000 children in New Zealand were living in severe and profound and deep poverty. For the past 8 years, we've heard a lot of talk about social investment and equality of opportunity, and yet nothing has changed. The dial hasn't shifted, except for a deepening house crisis that actually makes the child poverty crisis worse. The second report that was released yesterday, Mr Speaker, was from NIWA, which announced that this will be New Zealand's hottest year on record. Our climate is changing, and the rate of that change is accelerating. An existential threat is staring us in the face, and our government has spent the last 8 years pretending that it doesn't exist, that everything's going to be fine, it's all going to just work out somehow. But for children who are born into poverty, who die because they live in cold, damp homes that are unfit for habitation, or because they're one of the Kiwi children murdered every 5 weeks on average by their own families, history does not get better. For them, it doesn't bend towards justice, it bends the other way, and then it stops. And it's easy for us to be complacent if we tell ourselves that things are just going to get better, that history will work itself out. There's a temptation to do whatever's easiest for each of us in the short term, rather than what's best for all of us in the long term. Now, climate change, polluted rivers, the housing crisis, child poverty, these are hard problems. But the purpose of government is to fix things that are hard to fix. That's our job. We are not here to pretend that everything is fine. We're here to accept that it is not, and to make things better. Now, next year is an election year. We're going to have a chance to talk about these problems and what we are going to do together to solve them. Unfortunately, it's also going to be a chance for some people to spread misinformation and fear, to try and get New Zealanders angry with each other and to use that anger for political gain, to make things better for themselves and worse for the rest of us. Mr Speaker, my hope at the end of this year is that that is not going to happen, that the members of this House and those who hope to be elected to it will realise that the reason that we are free to stand here and speak today is because previous generations of political leaders chose to do the right thing, not the easy thing. If we want a brighter future, we have to work for it. If we want a better world, we can't just hope for it. We have to build it ourselves. Because if the arc of history does bend towards justice, it's because we choose to believe in justice and bend it ourselves. Make it bend. Because if we don't, it won't. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Speaker.